Hey guys, welcome to the Run Ride Laugh show. The episode today is with Jane Erbacher, coach, mentor, and lawyer now. Wow, that's pretty cool. I first met Jane in 2018 at the Crew Row Studios in Sydney, run by the very talented Mike Aldridge. And I was participating in one of Jane's Project Rose seminars sessions. So it was, I think it was about an hour, but it was basically what Jane does. She travels the world and teaches these Project Row and Project Ski seminars, which are basically getting gym facilities to bring their members in and give them a bit of an education on how to utilize those machines and best practices, technique, and how to minimize potential long-term injury. So that's where I met her, and she's just so likable. You know, those people that you just meet and they're just so likable. They're real. They're not pretentious. They're not condescending. Really, really fun person to be around. And I find that in an industry that I am qualified in, used to work in, sometimes still do, I find that it's saturated with uh, fake, fake news, fake people, fake views, fake products, and it's really nice to have some real people to balance that out. And Jane is definitely one of those people. So, yeah, I met Jane. Oh, my dog just rolled over and are you all right? Are you all right? And fell off the bed in his sleep. Anyway, I met Jane at the Crew Row. I think I will leave that in. I met Jane at the Crew Row studio in 2018, and I started following her shortly after that, and before a little bit before that. Anyhow, whatever the case, I had a fantastic chat with her back in January. She had to change her business strategy, as many people did last year because of COVID. So, taking her seminars from around the world through the power of the screen and Zoom. And yeah, I think you know, in the interview, in the episode, you'll hear her talk about how she was kind of finally in her place. She kind of that she kind of finally found her spot, which I found really interesting because I personally never felt that I found my spot in the fitness industry. So to hear someone of Jane's caliber mention that made me feel a little more normal when it comes to where your position is in the industry in which you work. So yeah, this happened, and she, was sort of just at the peak of happiness in terms of balance and why she does what she does and why she enjoys it. She was in New York, coaching some high school students for rowing, and she had to come home because of the virus. And yeah, everything got turned around, and it definitely, obviously last year was a year that we all had to learn some tough lessons, and that happened with Jane. But she's recently moved from her home in Melbourne to Bright. So it's a beautiful, if you don't follow her already, it's jane.erbacher, jane.erbacher on Instagram, and you'll see her lovely surrounds at the moment in Bright. And she's currently working back in a gym for the first time in many years, and still running her virtual Project Ski and Project Row seminars and challenges, which have been so successful. And she deserves every success. She is funny. She is fun. She is intelligent. She is knowledgeable. She is humble. She is Jane Erbacher, and I really hope that you enjoy this episode.
You're my first girl.
And literally the hardest person to have pinned down. I know that we've been talking about this for what feels like years. And I've been like, I'm sorry, I'm busy. It's just been, it's literally been something, it's been a funny few months. I've just had to work when I can because it's just been such a weird year. So, and I'm kind of the person that when I can ends up all the time. Like I have a scarcity mindset about work. Like I just have to do it when it comes up, and then it seems like I'm working all the time.
Where are you working at the moment?
Well, I'm still doing my ergonomic stuff. So at the moment, we've been running a comp called Tis the Season, and it's just wrapping up now. And the way that it wraps up is the release of our standards. And so that's been like, I've been working on standards for years. So kind of releasing them this week was really scary because it's like something I've sat on for a while. But so there's that. And then there is, I'm working at Myrtle Boot Camp. So my friends Matt, Lisa Murphy I just think are amazing. And they got in touch with me about a month ago, I reckon, maybe 5 weeks. And they were like, what if you came and managed a gym? And I was like, I haven't managed a gym in like 5 years since I sold my gym. Like, I don't know if I'm your person. I am not your person. Anyway, the guy that was doing it before me was pretty exhausted and down. So I'm here. So I'm working there, and I'm working with Ergami.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was, when you said you had to go to work, I was like, oh, I think you're working. That means.
Totally. Yeah, I have to be somewhere at a certain time.
Yeah. God, that's annoying. But good though, considering the year that you've had in Melbourne. Where so is that why you moved to Bright for this? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And I don't know how long it's going to be for. We talked about it. It was really funny. Matt and Elise were like, 3, 6, 12 months. And I was like, oh, okay. Is that how it works? So I originally moved here thinking it was going to be 3 months. In my brain, I was like, okay, 3 months. And now that I've moved here, I'm like, okay, this is pretty much the most beautiful place in the world. I could stay a lot longer. I'm like, why people do. So I'm still unsure. I do really want to get back to delivering in-person seminars at some point, but we're not in the climate for it. So
yeah. I honestly, last year was just obviously not as tough for us up here in New South Wales, but as it was for you guys down there. But the reason that I wanted to start doing this was I was just like, you've got to get creative. Well, you don't have to, but if you want to do something, you're going to have to get creative. And I, attempted a media journalism degree twice along the road of having kids and doing fitness and stuff. And I was just watching people create and, pivot and do things. And I thought, oh my God, I don't actually need, all I need is an internet connection and for people to say yes. And I can just do it. So, I only just I think you're like the 4th person, but yeah, you're my first girl. So I only realized it before. I was like, oh, it's the first female I've had. So that's exciting. So
that's all.
What the reason? Well, I mean, I felt like I've met you one time but it's funny being online, you feel like you do actually know people just following them and, depending on how much they share or how much they choose to share. But so just for the sake of the 3 people that will listen to this,
my dad will listen.
Hi, Mum. Not even. I met you at Crew Row Studio in Sydney. And which is unfortunately no longer. But that was due to Mike had to close that due to neighbours and the noise and the complaints. It wasn't a COVID thing, but I'm sure it would eventually have had to be a COVID thing. But
Yeah.
yeah, but I was heavily into rowing because I had gone back to the fitness industry a little bit to do the rowing idea, the rowing classes. We had come across this sort of dynamic erg, but without disclosing information that is really unnecessary to disclose. Things didn't go to plan, and people were not as honest and forthright as we thought they were being, and so we decided to just leave and not do it anymore. So but yeah, I met you when I was sort of like right in the peak of like, you know, learning about rowing and getting better at rowing. So I had just come back from, I think I had just come back from New York or was about to go to New York, but I went to City Row in New York and did their class. And so
I'm about to do online coaching with all of their instructors around America.
Oh, that's so good. Oh yeah, they would be in a mess with having to reorganize what they do. But it was so funny doing, hey?
It's so hard for them. I feel so sorry for them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you were similar position because you travel. So anyway, for the audience, so they know how we met. They know my like half my backstory now. But what did you do before this? Let people know what your main objective was in bettering people's worlds and lives.
It's funny that you ask this. I had a really great conversation with a friend of mine who owns a gym, and he's planning on opening more of them. And he was in this real, he was at a real crossroads because he was being heavily influenced by the fitness industry and forgetting about what he was actually delivering to the everyday person. And one of his problems was, well, is what I'm delivering, it's a strength and conditioning gym, but he's like, what I'm delivering scientifically sound enough? Because there is such a huge focus on people having a great time as well. And if we were trying to be scientifically sound, you know, people would probably have longer rest periods, blah, 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 like to fit in with science. And I was like, you've got to remember what your core belief is. Like, it's all well and good. There's so many core beliefs in life, and especially like in fitness, like that I know about. And I'm like, what's your core belief? And he kind of went away and thought about it. And I told him, I was like, my core belief is that I want people to walk away from an interaction with me feeling like they can do anything, like feeling proud of themselves, feeling uplifted and feeling confident approaching whatever else it is in their life. And that's it. So it's like, yes, sometimes maybe we do an isolated exercise before a compound exercise. Sometimes, you know, we do this and sometimes we do that. And yeah, if we were following like the rules of sports science, that would never happen. But the rules of me and my mission in life is that somebody walks away from an interaction with me better, uplifted, proud of themselves. So that's the rules that I play by. And so that's always my objective. And the why has never changed. The why has evolved and progressed and probably become more concise, a lot more clear on that now, but the how's changed. And it's interesting what you said about, you know, starting the podcast and all you needed was an internet connection. And I've felt for a really long time that people wait things to be right to demonstrate their core objective in life or their mission or their passion or whatever. And it's like, the time's never right. There's always going to be, you know, massive obstacles, and there's always going to be big mistakes. And like, you know, I'm a very textbook dreamer in that I have started and finished so many things. Like you know, I started in the fitness industry as an aerobics instructor when I was 18. I was named after Jane Fonda, which is a complete lie, but it fit in with the whole aerobics instructor thing. I'm actually named after Jane Austen, the author. So,
are you?
Yeah, I'm absolutely. But yeah, I started out in fitness, and I just realized that kind of, you know, as a teenager, exercise made me feel really happy and good. And I remember when I was about 18, I had I had a really bad body image, like really bad. Like I thought I just wanted to be one of those really skinny girls. And, you know, this is the early 2000s when those hipster jeans were in fashion, and I all wanted to wear these sassified jeans, and I couldn't seem to pull them up over my love handles. And,
Yeah.
you know, like most other women, I thought that meant that there was something wrong with my body. And I kind of set about trying to change that, and I did the wrong way. I tried to exercise heaps and, you know, not feed myself properly and, you know, whatever else. But I started through that kind of, I guess, negative body image. I came to find how great fitness makes you feel and how you can meet great friends through fitness. And I ended up working for a good 10 years teaching Les Mills, aerobics, PTing in local YMCAs, doing boot camps in the park, and basically just doing whatever I could to keep other people exercising. And in that period, I completed my first double degree at uni. So I did arts, health sciences, and thought at that period of my life I was going to be a physio and that this whole fitness thing was just a phase. Turns out not a phase. Decided then
Lasted a little bit longer.
Enrolled in law and only just finished my law degree last year. It took 8 years, which I feel like is some sort of a record. But, you know, and still kept up the whole fitness thing, owned a gym, sold a gym, started a podcast, actually started 2 podcasts, loved it. Podcasts are amazing. I'm so happy you're doing it. The connections you make and conversations you have, like, it doesn't matter. Like, yes, it matters that people are listening, so then more people, it reaches people, but it's really amazing for your own growth.
Yeah.
To put yourself out there, ask questions, have conversations. Yeah, so did that. And then hilariously, just kind of one day was like training for this course I was doing. So I've always been a massive learner. Like I'm always signed up for courses. Like I don't see, you know, going to uni for as long as I've gone as a waste because I'm not working with those degrees. Like all education makes you better. And so I'm always doing stuff. And I while I was running my podcast, I was traveling around the world interviewing people because unlike you, I didn't have the guts to rely on the internet. I decided I needed to be in the same room as people. And so in that period, I did a whole bunch of strength and conditioning and courses to make myself a better trainer. And one of them I did in Salt Lake City was called Jim Jones. And Jim Jones makes you test your 2K ski and 2K row. And I was like, oh, I hate those machines. Like, what even are those machines? Like, just put it to a 10 and just pull as hard as you can. How can it be that complicated? Anyway, I started learning from rowers how complicated it actually was. And I was like, nobody's teaching this to the fitness industry. Like, not one person is teaching rowing in a fitness language. It's all rowers for rowers. And there's a real divide between rowers and the rest of the industry. And you probably found that as well. So I started running seminars, and I still remember I was charging $10 for people to come, and that was it. And ever since then, I've increased the price. I've actually been to, I think, 350 gyms all around the world with my seminars. And what I've created now with Project Row and Project Ski isn't a technique seminar. It's a retention strategy for a gym. It's bringing the gym together and getting them excited about their training using the tool of the ergs. So it's like, again, the how is not as important as the why, and just a different package to create the same thing, which is have people leaving an interaction with me feeling proud of themselves and uplifted. So yeah, COVID threw a massive spanner in the works. I was in America when this happened, and hilariously, I still remember sitting in this coffee house in upstate New York, and I'd just run a whole weekend seminar with teenage girls who are in America. The #1 scholarship given out at colleges to females is rowing.
Yes.
So yeah, you must have already known that. Yeah, and so there's a huge demand for teenage girls to learn, you know, how to become great rowers so then they can go to college. And like all that fits in so perfectly with what I love. And I love working with women. Like, I think guys are great, but I love working with women. I understand them much better than men. And so we just had this epic seminar, and I was sitting in this coffee house on the Monday, and I was like sitting there and I was like smiling at everybody. And I was like, finally feel like I can I can breathe out. Like, I feel like, you know, for 18 years that I've worked in the fitness industry, I've been trying to find the bliss point. Like, it's been coming together, but with so much work. I sat there that day and I was like, it's come together. Like, gyms are seeking me out. You know, I don't have to explain my pricing anymore. It's just happening. And then within 48 hours, I was on an airplane home.
It sucks.
It was actually like, I still remember walking through the airport and I was still like smiling as big as possible. Like, it's okay. This will pass.
This will blow over.
Yeah.
That sucks.
Blow over.
No, it didn't. And yeah, it's funny that you said, like, right at the point where you were like, oh, this is it, like the pinnacle. And then life just went, you know what? Let's learn some more lessons before you get there. But yeah, that's
what, like, for a little time, like, I was like, I don't have any lessons to learn. I'm just going to wait. And literally, like, I finished my degree, so that was really good. I kind of fast-tracked that last year, but it took me a good 4 months, I reckon, to kind of like pull myself together from a business perspective and realize that I did have to adapt. And I was sitting there being super cynical. I was like, what are all these people doing? Like, pivoting, like, you know, just, and then all of a sudden I was like, nah, I've sat here, I'm taking the lesson, and I'm gonna get back out there.
Yeah.
So, but it's a while.
Maturity. Something you can't buy, you have to wait for. I remember being in my late 20s, and I was an RPM instructor, and there was another trainer at our gym, and he was a bit cocky, and he was about 5 years younger than me, so he was early 20s. And I'll never forget my mentor, like my RPM mentor, saying to him, she just stripped, like, she just tore strips off him, and she just said, you know, in 10 years, there's going to be someone 10 years younger than you who is going to know more. So get your head out of your ass and just, you know, just cut the ego. It's very hard to tell a 21-year-old to keep your ego in check. But it's funny because I remembered that. And I was like, at the time, I was a bit, yeah, whatever. It's going to be ages before I'm hitting 40. Like, and then I spun around and it's here. So I always remembered that. And just in terms of what you're saying with, you know, you're training people and you're in a gym and you're supposed to do X, Y, Z according to the manual. But I think humans are just, we're not, unless you're doing, you know, professional weightlifting or Olympic sports, you know, most people just want to find why they want to go back. And often it's more than just, oh, I need to lose weight, or I need to get stronger, or my doctor told me to come here. They need to find a reason why they want to come back, and feeling included and feeling like they're gaining something from it can often bring them back. So yeah, I think that's really great. But yeah, man, yeah, you can be, and the fitness industry, I don't know, it's so, I can relate to you saying you needed to find your place, because I don't think I ever did find my place, because I don't know, it just, I never fit the type. Like, I was never super lean, and I was never 100% involved in it. Like, I always had parenting. I mean, I had my first kid when I was 22, so I was always a mum. And so I was never 100% in it, but then, so I was like neither here nor there. But your law degree, congratulations, that's epic. And it doesn't matter that it took 8 years, because people take that long to do other things as well, like other degrees anyway, entire degrees. So
I could take 8 years to do nothing.
I
reckon
I have stopped 3 degrees because it's so intense. Like, it's just it's so intense. I mean, and I was doing quite well. I've just deferred the teaching degree, and I was doing really well, but to do really well on that, I had to lock myself away for weekends and say, sorry, kids, like, we're not going to the park today. You know, like,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and yeah, I was just getting the whole life's too short thing to keep saying no to them. But yeah, well done. What are you gonna? Do you know what you're gonna do with that?
I'm not sure. Like, I am pretty passionate about. I'm pretty passionate about most things, but I'm pretty passionate about inequality. Like, I'm quite the activist, and
You know where
I
you
kinda
should
come
go.
America.
Should go to Washington right now.
Isn't it awful? Like,
They
it
need
is
someone like you.
absolute. Like, I feel like I love America. I
Mhm.
love America so much. I have spent so much time there, and I have spent time. I think that I've run seminars in nearly 30 states, so it's not even just like California, New York,
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. It's like I've been to Wyoming and Montana and Utah and so Iowa 4 times. I bloody love Iowa. I feel like I have family in Iowa. But yeah, it's so I would definitely pursue something in politics. Like, I wouldn't ever say no to that for sure. I think that something that works against me is I have zero drive to work in a corporate environment. I don't it's not designed for me. I'm not at all, I don't want to do it. And so, like, when you finish your law degree, you need to do what's called practical legal training, and that's basically your apprenticeship. And they've changed now that it can actually be done online, which I think is hilarious because it's called practical legal training. It used to be done in the law firm, but they've found that students were learning nothing, graduates were learning nothing because people were just making them buy coffees and, file and stuff. And now, I know. So I think every industry does it to their newbies, the poor buggers. But I don't know. There's a really incredible activist for refugee rights called Julian Burnside, and I heard him speak before I started my law degree, and he's basically the reason I started my law degree. He's a really prominent commercial lawyer, but now he uses the resources that he's, built up to represent refugees and asylum seekers pro bono. And so I actually have written to him, I think, about 15 times to tell him that I'll run his social media because he's like 70 and isn't connecting as well with millennials as he is with Gen X and Gen Y. And so I would love to do something like that where I combine my legal, knowledge with what I'm really interested in and activism. But
yeah,
I don't know. I listen to true podcasts and I want to be a criminal barrister as well. So I just don't think I've got enough time.
And were you doing it were you always doing it online, your degree? Or did you have to?
I was doing it face to face.
How'd you find that?
I love going to uni. And one of the hilarious things, like, I started at uni at La Trobe Uni in Melbourne in 2006. And like, I remember when I went in 2006, I was like 22. And so people were all my age. And like, I went to uni games and I made friends and I like played sport and, went out partying with these people. And it's like, each year I came back, everybody just kept getting younger and younger and younger. Like, it was so funny. I remember on my 35th birthday, I was at uni and I was sitting there and I was like, I would be friends with all your parents. Like, I was looking around the room and I was like, yep, I actually would be friends with all your parents. And and I love going to uni. I used to think that the days I went to uni, it was so cool because it was just me. Like, and it was for me. And if I didn't do my work, it was just me I was letting down. Whereas the work that I've been doing over the years, it's like I feel like I have a responsibility to others to continually show up and perform. And whereas with uni, it was just responsibility to myself. And that seemed so much easier. So I actually love going to uni. I was pretty sad in COVID that it all became online. And then when I finished my degree, I was like, as much as, exams, every time exams would come around, I'd be like, never studying ever again. And then it's like they finish and you go, I can't wait to go back. And then
I've got nothing to do.
And my dad was like, so what's your next degree going to be? And I was like, well, Dad, and he was like, oh my God, no, serious. Like, she's actually serious.
Don't.
I'm done with studying for a little while. I actually want to, enjoy the fruits of my labor, like my HECS debt.
Yeah, let's start paying that off. So let's move house and get a real job. What is it with the rowing machine? Why is it so intimidating to people? And why does it sit there in the corner of the gym and not get touched by most people or programmed for? Go.
Great question. I think that the reason is because trainers don't know how to use it. And people who come into the gym haven't, like, I know when I first ever got on the rower, I was 17. I joined the local gym just before I became an aerobics instructor, and the rower was programmed in as my 2 minutes warm up. And it's like every rower in a gym is set to damper of 10. And the thing with a damper of 10 is just like, I literally spend so much time talking about it, but it's like, it's the default setting that people set it to because it feels the hardest. But then it's like, you get so tired from that after 30 seconds that you never want to get back on again. So it's like, I think that the reason is, I think as trainers, we have done a disservice of not understanding how the machine works. And I'm pretty sure, the majority of trainers who are teaching people barbell work have done a specific barbell course. Or if they're teaching people kettlebell work, they've done a specific kettlebell course. But, rowing, it's just cardio. Like, how complicated can it be? And it's funny because I think the thing that I take the most seriously when I'm teaching it is I want people to walk away and not be so excited that they can't wait to get back on. Like, it's like, cool, I can't wait to do that. But also, like, I want people to understand that repetitive poor movement pattern equals dysfunction. Like, it's not necessarily like dropping a barbell on your, chest in a chest bench press. It's not like, pulling your back out of alignment by a kettlebell swing, but it's accumulated dysfunction. And that's exactly why we see physios and why we have niggles and problems. So I think that the main thing is people have never been communicated the patience that is required to build a motor pattern, and trainers have never given it that kind of respect. And it's just a flow on attitude and culture.
Yep, and it just stays that way. I guess the equivalent of walking into the gym and setting that damper up to 10 would be walking up to the dumbbell rack and just picking up the 18 kilos and expecting to go for a really long time doing that kind of effort.
Exactly.
And then getting dissuaded by that and going, oh, that's not for me, it's too hard.
I'm never going to use another dumbbell again.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and you're like, what are those other numbers on the rower for? But you can, and you can, I can attest, I've done when you came into crew and you did the session with us, and that was incredible. Just like, I remember my feet hurt the next day only because I didn't have my toes down when I row. I let them come up. And so just by making that effort, which is actually a better way of doing it, but because I wasn't used to it, it made me aware of, oh my God, I've been doing the wrong thing for so long. But I found when we're doing the rowing thing, people, there's no mainstream knowledge, like you was, getting to, like, there's no mainstream knowledge of how to use it and why it's good. But it's a fantastic, I don't have to tell you, machine. Same with the ski-erg.
Yeah. And the ski-erg's another one that it's like, there is no understanding of how to use it. And there's just this idea of what Nordic skiing is. And it's like, concept 2 are really interesting about the ski-erg, because you've probably noticed that they don't market it very well, or at all. They kind of like, once the bike erg became a thing, it was all about the bike erg. And one of the issues to have with the ski-erg is it was only created for Nordic skiers. It wasn't created for general fitness. And then it's like, we got our hands on it, like through CrossFit, Jim Jones, everything. And now they're in most gyms. And it's like, concept 2 are still going, you know what, we're not responsible for how you use it. We say use it as a Nordic skier. And it's like, And I'm opposed to that because the injuries in Nordic skiing are lower back injuries and rounded shoulders, which is the injuries in mainstream population. So it's like, why would we do a movement that exacerbates the problems that we all have from modern life? So yeah. And it's interesting. It's like a lot of people say they want to like invent something and be innovators. And it's like like the problems I have faced being controversial in that creating a technique, oh man, I'd give that up like in a second. Like, you know, I never have people disagreeing with me on the rower, but it's like on the ski-erg, it's like constant. But it's hilarious because then I just see that what I've been teaching for nearly 4 years now is adopted in a lot of different places. And I'm like, cool. Like, I know where that came from.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. It will catch on. It will, that was a great pun. I'm really proud of that.
Catch on, I love it. Yeah. Well, I've changed my name. I'm Jane Erbacher.
I saw that. That's so funny. I saw someone suggest it.
I know. I never thought of it. Other people suggested it. And I was like, oh my God, that is actually, my name is built for this.
It's right there. Yeah. That's so funny. So yeah, you've been running seminars online, and that's been going good. Well, that's been going well.
It's really hilarious. So I don't work for Concept 2 or anything, but they got in touch with me in the first lockdown. They were like, we'd love you to post some stuff about ski workouts. Just help us with some content. Like, and I was like, cool, okay, I did that. Then I was like, should do some more stuff like this. It keeps me working out, you know, in lockdown. So I did Ergist. And I was like, sometimes like I literally come up with stuff and I go, save me from myself.
No, you're like me.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like a bit of a weird and wonderful kind of sense of humor. But I did that. And then after that, I had a lot of people getting in contact with me about programming. And I don't sell programming. Like I sell personalized individual programs. I can't do it for the masses. I need to see you move and I need to see what your own individual life is, which is not scalable at all. And so
you have a hex step to pay. You should really think about that.
I should just be like 2K programs, here you go. But I decided that I could run Zoom seminars and I could run online comps and I could have, you know, standards that you work towards. And if there's a standard that you're working towards, there is a pretty generic program working towards that standard. So I tried to like actually adjust my the blocks that I was putting up for myself to make it something that I was still comfortable with. And I remember the first Zoom seminar I ran and I was just like so worried about the internet and the lighting and blah, blah, blah. And I sat there in the beginning because at every seminar, you'll probably remember this, I get people to introduce themselves. And it is so important to me that we break down the intimidation people feel and the disconnect and all of that. And I realized we can do that online. Like everyone sat there and, you know, they're on Zoom and we're not in the same room, but within 5 minutes, people in Switzerland were connecting with people in Tasmania and they had similarities. And the whole COVID thing, it's unified us. Like we all understand it to varying degrees, but we all understand it. And I realized by the end of it, I was like, I'd forgotten that what I teach isn't technique. It's like feeling proud of yourself, feeling uplifted, blah, blah, blah. And I'd forgotten about that and kept thinking about the reasons why I couldn't be the best technique coach on Zoom. And it didn't matter. Like people walked away and it was like a highlight of their day and they had to spring in their step. And so it was from that I just decided to do more of them and to do one-on-one and stuff like that. So it's really good. I can't wait to be in the same room as people, but like it is pretty unbelievable that you can sit there and have people all over the world and at different times of day and it's snowing outside in some places and it's really not in other places. And it's just, that's really cool.
I think it's really good because a lot of those people are in quite a heavy lockdown, depending on where they are in the world. And so that would, having something to be a part of, just like as if they were at their gym or if they were going to do that seminar anyway, they're not missing out. I always think of the neighbours.
Yes.
I always imagine the next door neighbours, and when you're like, and the zooms on and people's voices are coming out of the thing, and how funny it must sound. But that's just my brain.
I can't wait till this whole period has completely passed. Like,
Oh,
and we can look back, it's like laugh our heads off, because like I was laughing at the people in the seminar, because I make them do this like relatively all out effort at the beginning. You've done it, but so I had this guy in his basement in Germany, and it's like full dungeon, like it's literally a dungeon. It's like it was probably built 6 million years ago. Like it's just like, and then I had this lady in London who was in this tiny little, terrace apartment, whatever. There was such only angle in the room that it's like she could actually row, and it's so random and weird, and the sound, and it's like 7 a.m. there and whatever. Like if you're the neighbor,
I know, yeah. I know. Yeah, all the different times.
I'm gonna say we were in lockdown, I think, for our second one for 4 months, maybe 4.5 months, I don't know. And you just realize, you're like, I used to think everything needed to be done yesterday. Like everything needed to be done yesterday. But it's not, I should have done it. And it's like, I learned in lockdown, I'm like, that doesn't matter. Like it will happen when it's happen. If things don't work, they don't work. And don't get me wrong, I still get anxious about trying to make things perfect, but when they're not, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Oh, it's good. It's a very good learning process.
Yeah.
I know you don't have long. I had a couple of people. Hey, what?
Everything had to be done yesterday. I'm like,
I know. We have
not
rush.
to be like,
no. I'm the same. We have an inspection next week, and I would be like me a year ago. I'd be like, shit, I have to clean all the dust off the skirt. And I'm like, you know what? The night before is fine. I'll just vacuum. We weren't in lockdown like you guys were, but you watch it, and we have friends overseas and in Victoria, and you just sort of, it's so cliche, and I hate saying it, but you learn what's important and what's not.
100%.
How's your mate, Hamish Blake?
I'm actually Devo, because he's moving to Sydney, and I just I mean, I've moved to Bright, but I'm still a Melburnian, and so it's really like I feel like he's jumped ship. But I actually met Hamish when I was PTing in the park. So he used to train at a boxing gym, like this really gritty, grungy boxing gym in Melbourne. And he used to come running around the park at the end, and then they'd all walk and do a cool down, and they'd always say hi to us. And then they'd all get coffees at the cafe across the road, and we'd get coffees at the cafe. And one time his boxing coach just introduced me to him, and we just started chatting. And then one time I was there, and he came in, and he was like, oh, can I sit with you? And so we had a coffee, and we just were like chatting. I was telling him how we were opening a gym, and my friend who also PT'd in the park, and he's like, oh, cool, what's the gym going to be like? And this is 2013. So this is pre everything. Like no one had ever heard of an F45. Like, so it was, I was like, oh, it's like functional fitness. We're going to have like AstroTurf and sled tracks and monkey bars. And he's like, that sounds awesome. Like, have you got photos? Anyway, we just started chatting, and then he was like, do you know who you need to follow? You need to follow these guys. And he introduced me to Jim Jones, and I was like, oh my God, these guys are so cool. And he's like, Hugh Jackman trains with these guys, and they train like, all the Marvel movie people. And I was like, oh, cool. Anyway, so we connected on that. And then he was like, I'll give you my number when you open the gym, send me a message, and maybe I'll come in for a session. So opened the gym, sent him a message, and he came in, and then I just started PTing him. So like 3 times a week, and his wife as well. And we really connected over the Jim Jones stuff. So Jim Jones is really like, I'm not really a part of it anymore, but I loved it when I was, because this whole premise is the mind is primary. So your mind will give up before your body does. So always push. And Hamish, without a doubt, has the most incredible work ethic of anyone I've ever come across. And he is so good at what he does that it appears like he has not tried for any of it. and every single thing he's ever done, he has absolutely worked his butt off for it. And I remember I interviewed him for my podcast a few years ago, and he was really serious on the podcast, because a lot of people ask me, they're like, is he just so funny all the time? And I'm like, I mean, sometimes, but he's just a normal guy. Like he's literally somebody you want to be friends with immediately. Like you genuinely want to be friends with him, but he's not like cracking jokes all the time. But I remember in the podcast, he was like, you know, I was like, it seems like everything just fell in your lap and you just hang out with your mate and you chat and everything. And he's like, I've knocked on every single door until the door opened. Like his perseverance and work ethic is just like, his success is 100% attributed to the work that he's put in. And I just think he's such an impressive person. And when I used to train him, like I learned so much from the way he applied himself and the fact that he was always researching better ways to do stuff. And I learned how to be a trainer through like my friendship with him, because I kind of thought once I'd gotten my certificates, I was it. Like, you know, people showed up and there we go. And it was like, no, you're never done. Like, you're actually never done. And yeah, he and I did he did a big fundraiser row marathon, and I was his support crew. And that was in the period where I thought that, you know, that's when I was learning how to row. So that was a really big turning point for me. And it's been really nice for him as well, because he introduced me to this idea of Jim Jones, which introduced me to this idea of rowing, which led me to Project Row. And so I like, you know, you probably would get to where you are other ways, but who knows? So yeah, he's a pretty cool guy.
I honestly, one of my questions was, you know, do you have a little anecdote about something that has defined your path in fitness? That sounds like it might be one where you've got like you're just introduced to a thing that introduces you to another thing, and then that has actually become your main passion in terms of your weapon of choice.
Well, one thing about that is I think that one of the really important things I think is, without it being like, you know, a greedy, money grabbing capitalist idea, I do believe that every interaction I have is a business opportunity for me, because my business is not just, it's not about making money, it's about like impacting more people. And so every time I'm introduced to somebody, I remember their name, I remember things about them. I don't think about, oh, how can this person make me better? But it's like I see them and I hear them and I value them and I learn from them. And I was talking to my friend this past week about the importance. She wants to, you know, enter the fitness industry. And I was like, you need to go to sessions everywhere and learn from everyone. And I was like, you'll learn more from a bad trainer than you will a good trainer. And so seek out everyone out there, because it's through the interactions I've had that have left me feeling bad about myself or low that has made me go, I never want to do that to somebody else. And you said before about, you know, there being a place for you in the fitness industry. And I thought that was so interesting, because so many women feel that way. And I know I've felt that way as well. Like, I'm not a fitness model. And so I've created my place. And I know that like what I do, what didn't exist. And I'm, you know, I'm in a very male dominated sport, and it's mainly male leaders in the fitness industry, which I just think is crazy, because it's female consumers. I'm like, where are the female leaders? And it's like, yeah, they're like, it's unbelievable to me. There's more male trainers, more female subscribers. And every gym that you can think of is owned by men or a man and wife. And it's like, there's so few, like
a couple.
Female owned gyms. And it's like, even yoga studios and Pilates studios now, which was very female dominated, are owned by men as well. And I just think it's so important that we create space and a place for women, and understand that it's in our diversity and differences that, and relatability. Like, relatability is so important. That is our place, not aspiration all the time.
I agree. I learnt so much from the people who used to come to my sessions for RPM. So much. It was sometimes it was almost like life coaching. Like afterwards, there's a car. Hold on. Oh, great. This is the this is the reality of sitting in the garage. I was holding this because I was muting my mic because my neighbor was leaf blowing.
Funny.
But yeah, I would walk away from those like instructing RPM with just a variety of different people's stories and why they were there and what they'd got out of it. And some of the people like telling you, oh my gosh, you've just changed my day with that session. And you're like, really? That was really? I was sitting there criticizing everything, like, oh shit, I missed 4 beats. Oh shit, that was it. Oh my God, they're gonna hate this. And someone walks up to you and goes, I was actually super depressed and I dragged my ass here and you have changed my day. And yeah, it's kind of that's a really nice feeling to have. So you do learn. It's super cheesy. I feel so cheap. The older I get, the cheesier I feel I am. But
you probably are.
Yeah. It's so nice. It's a very nice feeling. And it's good if you're enjoying what you do, then you're definitely going to be good at it. But yeah, we've been talking now for 58 minutes.
What happened? I know, that's why when you're like,
I was worried.
I'm not going to stop talking. My time restraint is. And like, let's be fair, I'm fully like at the moment, my diary is I'm forgetting to write things in my diary, hence today. So it's like, don't even worry. It's been such a fun chat.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed it. I was asleep before and my daughter knocked up. My daughter's 16 and she knocked on the door. She's like, Mum, I'm working. You've got to drive me. I was like, didn't you say you were working on the 8th? She's like, it is the 8th. I was like, oh, I'll be up in a second.
That happened.
Yeah, I know. The memes that are coming out from, like, it's a disgraceful situation, but there was a funny meme and it said, oh well, we did well for 8 days. Bring on 2022. and I thought
it real
funny.
There was one today that I saw that was like December 37th, 2020. Well played. And I was like, that's so funny.
Like, I wish I could think of those. All right. Well, I'll thank you for bearing with me with my technical issues.
I thank you for being patient with me for my not writing it in my diary. I got some sourdough crumpets. Somebody gave me some sourdough crumpets at the gym this morning.
Oh yeah.
And they're like amazing. I just was eating 2. That's why I was like, can we go on in 10 minutes?
Oh, wait, what did you forget? Did you forget we were talking?
Yeah, I thought that I couldn't remember. I knew that we were talking today, but I couldn't remember the time that we'd said. And I just was like, I didn't know what the time was. Yeah. And so then when I read your message, I was like, oh my God. And then I looked at the message and I was like, 2:00. It's 2:30. Oh my God, I'm so rude.
So no, it's fine. I was going to I had to sleep because I have not stopped staying up because I'm on school holidays and I'm an idiot to myself.
Nothing good happened at 10.
Yeah, I know, except that everyone's asleep and has shut up, so that's good. But I checked our messages before I had that nap because I was like, oh shit, I can't remember when. Then I had to get up and drive her to work anyway. So
good. Well, it all worked out anyways.
It did.
So, thanks, Jane.
All right, see you later.
Yeah.
Bye. I want to thank Jane for being on the Run, Ride, Laugh show. The audio was a bit rough there. We didn't have a great connection, but I hope you got something out of that talk. If you want to go and look for Jane on socials, she is at jane.erbacher. It's JANE.ERBACHER. As always, please share and review and like and comment on this podcast if you have enjoyed the content. Some exciting news this week. My podcast or my show was accepted onto Apple, on all Apple platforms, Apple iTunes, Apple Music and Apple Podcasts. So
It's very easy to find, and it's very easy to leave a review. Please do so. Subscribe, that would be fantastic. I can't believe I'm even saying that. It's very exciting for me. So many thanks to Jane for making time for me, and I'll see you guys soon.